now. Donald Trump has doubled down on his idea of the US gaining control of Gaza. His proposal earlier this week was met with widespread condemnation. Well, let's get the take on what's happened with our American in Oz, Sarah James, who joins us in the studio. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, where do we start? I mean, there's a bit going on in Washington, isn't there?
Yes, there is a bit going on. So to talk about Gaza first, I think we'll see where this lands. He has doubled down. I mean, remember that this is a president whose standard negotiating technique is to start high, go higher, and then maybe come back. So this is how Donald Trump has always worked, back from when he was a property developer in New York to now. And the impact and thoughts of other nations will absolutely be part of this. But to put that in that frame, you're right, it's been a huge couple of weeks in Washington. The Trump train of the first administration is the bullet train now. And maybe the analogy is better to say that it's more of a tornado, because it kind of hopscotches from one thing to the next. And I would say that's by design.
2 weeks ago, we were sitting here for hours watching him be inaugurated and talking about some of the things he promised. One of them was getting out of foreign wars, stopping spending money, particularly in the Middle East, but on any sort of kind of war, and pausing aid, which is something that he has done already. Occupying Gaza in any way seems at odds with those promises, right?
Well, and I think this is a president who has never struggled to have things that seem inconsistent. That just doesn't trouble him. I mean, if it's something that he wants to do, then he goes ahead and attempts to do it. But what I think is important is to kind of consider all the things that are happening, and to, because so much attention, rightly and understandably, has been focused on this in the United States. There's actually an old Steve Bannon line for what I think is part of what's happening, and it's called flooding the zone. And the idea is you do so many things at once. There are so many different actions going on, from what Doge is doing to, this is Elon Musk's group, which turns out to be a very small cadre of people about whom we don't know very much, who have been granted some quite high access, and that's being pushed back upon, to this last-minute ruling saying that federal workers, 2 million federal workers who've been offered this buyout, again, this is very unconventional, have until now Monday to decide on that, to the questions over whether or not birthright citizenship which is in the Constitution of the United States. There are lawsuits about that, since that's trying to be ended. So this idea of doing many things at once, that is I don't want to call it a play, but that is a strategy. That is a way that makes it hard for people to kind of focus on where do I look? What happens next?
And what about the Democrats? Are they able to focus then? Because how do they get their messaging across when there are all these things that people are talking about and worried about? How do they get in here?
That's such a good question. So I think right now there have been a lot of complaints that the Democrats just look flat-footed. Partly that's because they have neither the control of the Senate nor the control of the House. So the House is where the laws are made, and the Senate is about, confirming nominees. So they don't have any control, except they do have a little bit. It's just not yet. In March 14th, the U.S. government grinds to a halt if they don't pass a spending and appropriations bill. So what you're seeing right now on Capitol Hill is a lot of wrangling with that looming over Washington, D.C. and the Capitol. You're also starting to see certain Democrats. I just saw something earlier from Senator Warner of Virginia, my former home state, writing about the chaos and confusion that he's seeing in communities in Northern Virginia about what would happen if some of these things went into place. The busiest people in the United States right now are probably lawyers, because a lot of these different actions are facing legal challenges. To the Trump base, they're thrilled. They love this. This is what they asked for. They want this kind of, exciting, doing a lot of things. To others, they're trying to figure out what to tackle first and how to do it. And it's coming from union groups, it's coming from certain Democratic leaders, and it's going to be an emerging situation, because there's so many things. To get back to flooding the zone, there's so many things. It's not all coming from one place.
Presidents often use the first 100 days to be like, right, this is where I do everything. It's while I'm popular, or relatively. It's while I've got this momentum. It's while maybe my opponents are a bit flat-footed. Do you think this is going to continue? I know it's difficult to gaze into a crystal ball, but next week will we be looking at a different part of the world where we've moved on from the Middle East?
Oh, well, I think that's part of the Trump specialty. I mean, you know, it was Greenland and now it's Gaza. And yeah, I think you can anticipate that there will often be something new, but that the other elements of this are not going away. In other words, there are real consequences to some of the decisions. While there are legal challenges playing out, there are real consequences to workers who will or won't have jobs, and whether or not the guarantee that they'll continue to get paid, how does that actually play out? Much of this is totally untested. Some constitutional scholars question whether or not it is constitutional or legal, and the way that plays out is in the courts. Courts are slow. Television is fast. This is a president who moves more rapidly than any president I think we've had, and who is completely fluent in media. So you've got a situation where we have yet, I mean, again, it's going to be happening across a variety of fronts. I think we can expect more drama, and it'll be exciting. Let's use that word.
Loves the ratings too. Loves to see good ratings.
Good ratings, and the stock market. He will watch the stock market.
Okay.
Sarah James, thank you.
Pleasure.
We appreciate it.